Hurricane Ernesto is delivering a blow to Bermuda and is ramping up coastal danger for much of the United States' eastern seaboard after it thrashed Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, leaving hundreds of thousands of people without power. Powerful winds from the large Category 2 hurricane extend hundreds of miles from its center and started to thrash Bermuda with strong gusts Friday afternoon, well before making its closest pass to the island Saturday. A hurricane warning is in effect for the island. Ernesto's strength late this week was fueled by the extremely warm waters of the Atlantic, a phenomenon that's becoming more frequent in a world warming due to fossil fuel pollution. But dry air interacting with the system prevented explosive strengthening. The center of the hurricane will track near or over Bermuda on Saturday, but drenching rain and tropical storm force wind gusts were already underway Friday over the tiny island, which is about a third of the size of Washington, D.C. The Bermuda International Airport reported tropical storm force conditions with sustained winds of 41 miles per hour with a gust to 63 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center. As of around 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Ernesto was centered around 125 miles south-southwest of the island, moving to the northeast at 13 miles per hour. The storm is expected to slow down tonight, and the center should pass near or over Bermuda early Saturday morning. Conditions will continue to deteriorate this evening, and hurricane-force winds are expected to begin around midnight EDT, lasting until around midday Saturday. Tropical storm conditions will continue beyond that, lasting into Saturday evening. More powerful winds and torrential rainfall will likely arrive late Friday or early Saturday. Ernesto could unload 6 to 12 inches of rain over the island through Saturday night, with potential for isolated totals to approach 15 inches. This may result in considerable life-threatening flash flooding, the National Hurricane Center warned Thursday. Dangerous storm surge and significant coastal flooding will also unfold as Ernesto makes its closest approach to the island Saturday. Ernesto will have wide-reaching impacts despite remaining so far from large land masses. The hurricane will create massive waves, perhaps up to 40 feet high, in the open Atlantic that will spread hundreds of miles away. These elevated wave heights will bring rough seas and dangerous rip currents to the U.S. East Coast, the Bahamas, and parts of the Caribbean into early next week. For a majority of the U.S. Atlantic coast, the most dangerous coastal conditions will unfold over the weekend, coinciding with the time many people flock to the beach. Ernesto will result in very dangerous rip currents Saturday and Sunday, the National Weather Service in Mount Holly, New Jersey, warned Thursday. Rip currents can exhaust even the strongest swimmers and turn deadly. At least 29 people have been killed in rip currents this year in the U.S. and its territories, according to the National Weather Service. Beyond Bermuda, Ernesto will pass close to Atlantic Canada early next week and potentially bring some rain, wind, and rough seas. Ernesto's center never made landfall over Puerto Rico or the U.S. Virgin Islands, but the system's strong winds still knocked out power to hundreds of thousands of people in total. In Puerto Rico, about half of all customers on the island were at one point without power Wednesday, according to Luma Energy, the private company that operates the transmission and distribution of power in Puerto Rico. By Friday morning, more than 200,000 were still in the dark. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, just over 10,000 customers were still without power Friday morning, about 20% of the island's tracked customers, according to Power Outage US. Heavy rain soaked the Virgin Islands late Tuesday and Wednesday. More than half a foot of rain drenched much of Puerto Rico and caused widespread flash flooding. Some locations recorded nearly a foot of rain from Ernesto. Just over 10 inches of rain fell over a 24-hour period in the mountain town of Barranquitas, according to a preliminary Weather Service report, while Villalba saw around 9.5 inches. Intense rainfall and flooding caused several rivers to overflow their banks in Puerto Rico and interrupted water filtration processes at a number of water processing plants to varying degrees, according to the island's water authority. Even as Ernesto moved a few hundred miles away from Puerto Rico Wednesday night, water issues worsened. More than 250,000 water customers, about 20% of total customers, were without drinking water Friday morning, according to the island's emergency portal system. Swells produced by Hurricane Ernesto led to at least one house collapsing along North Carolina's Outer Banks Friday, with the threat of problems caused by high ocean levels expected to continue into next week.
Oh my God!
Dare County Emergency Management reported the house was unoccupied and was already at risk of collapsing well before the hurricane's tides did the weakened structure in. Debris was said to be moving northward along the beach, and National Park Service staff at Cape Hatteras National Seashore were monitoring the situation. The Category 2 hurricane was safely more than 1,000 miles away from the Tar Heel State when the event occurred, but due to the combination of rough surf and high water levels, significant erosion and coastal flooding were expected along barrier islands. Flooding was also reported along North Carolina Highway 12, the main thoroughfare into and out of the islands that make up the Outer Banks.
Holy shit!
Photos from Ocracoke Island showed overwash during periods of high tide, but the North Carolina Department of Transportation said the roadway remained open. DOT crews are continuously monitoring the highway and have placed large sandbags along the route to limit water intrusions. The National Weather Service office in Morehead City, North Carolina, has issued a coastal flood advisory and a high surf advisory for many coastal communities because of the combination of the hurricane and high tides created by the moon cycle. NWS meteorologists warned of inundation levels of 1 to 2 feet that were expected during periods of high tide. Up to 1 to 2 feet of inundation above ground level is possible in low-lying areas near shorelines and tidal waterways, resulting in a low threat of property damage. Some roads and low-lying property, including parking lots, parks, lawns, and homes adjacent to the waterfront, may experience shallow flooding, the NWS said.
Can if you need to, but
Most of the eastern seaboard was dealing with similar conditions with higher than normal tides, as well as an extreme risk for rip currents. Rip currents form when water piles up, creating a narrow, fast-flowing stream that swiftly carries swimmers away from shore, often catching beachgoers off guard.